Robin Thede has finished the first season of a Black Lady sketch show, which has been renewed for a second season. I'm Matt Noble from Gold Derby to ask you, Robin, when you were putting this sketch show together, what was the most important thing for you?
Oh, the most important thing. When I was putting it together, I think the most important thing was cast, right? I mean, we had to make sure that the women were funny and engaging and could play hundreds of characters at any moment. So I think that was the big for me. And I was lucky. All the people I wanted said yes. And we got an incredible cast of 3 ladies and me for the main ensemble.
Can you think of a particular sketch where you had the whole ensemble working on it, where it was particularly sort of fun to play off each other?
Yeah, you know, sadly, in the first season, we don't have a lot of sketches together. We do all the interstitial material together, where 4 women are quarantining in a house at the end of the world. Sound familiar? The only sketch I can think of where all 4 of us were together is Motown Meltdown, which is a sketch about an old Motown group where I play the lead singer, Claude, who decides he's done singing family-friendly tunes and is going to start singing his own kind of raunchy material. So that was fun. And that was very physical, too. And we had to do a day of choreography and recording sessions. So that was intense.
What's the biggest challenge with putting together a sketch show?
Usually budget.
Yeah.
Nobody tends to give Game of Thrones money to a sketch show, which is weird, right? Because all of our sketches, you know, we wanted to make the show look really cinematic, and luckily I'm used to doing that on a smaller budget. But for us, you know, we wanted to make each of these sketches look like a short film with its own film aesthetic. You know, some look like David Lynch, some look like sort of bright musicals, you know, some look like dark comedy or dark thriller. And then some look like sporting events. So we wanted to be able to have that versatility as much in our characters and our actors and our performers and our material as we do in the aesthetics. So I think, you know, budget's always the biggest challenge and the hardest part about it. But other than that, I think people don't appreciate how much work goes into creating, you know, 50 or so individual pieces of material for the show just for 6 episodes. You have to have different locations. We shoot everything on location. You have to have different locations. You have to have day players. We had, I think, almost 300 parts in 6 episodes, 55 of which were celebrity guests. Over 120, I think, were the 4 of us playing characters, and then the rest were small parts or non-speaking parts.
And even just thinking about like a sketch show and budget and things, like each scene almost needs a new set and new costumes and new makeup and all those sorts of elements to it as well. What can you think of a sketch that was particularly hard to sort of figure out and get right in the writer's room?
Oh, in the writing?
Yeah.
They're all difficult in their own way. I think the biggest challenge for us is making a narrative sketch show. You know, if somebody pitches a funny joke, we won't make that a whole sketch, because for us, our sketches run longer than most. So they run usually between 3 and 6 minutes, favoring towards the 6-minute end. So if you're going to watch something for 6 minutes, it's got to have a story that builds and escalates and characters that are interesting. And it's why we bring so many of our characters back throughout the season. So I think for us, in the writer's room, I don't know what was particularly tough to write. I mean, they're all really fun. Some go through more revisions than others. I think making sure, like in the Chris and Lachelle sketch series, because they come back a couple times, you know, originally I wrote it for Chris, and Lachelle didn't have as much of a personality hook as Chris did. And for us, we always want to make sure that our characters are never playing like the boring straight person, you know, to someone else's jokey, wild character. We want everyone to have jokes and have fun things to do and to perform. So it was about creating that Lachelle character and giving her more comedic perspective. And so Akilah Green, one of our writers, came up with this great hook for her, which is, well, what if she just has a lot of questions? You know, Chris can't say yes to anything, can't answer anything affirmatively, but what if Lachelle just has a lot of questions? And so in that way, they're kind of almost yin and yang together as a couple, and it really helped create the bond with them more. But I think that one it wasn't hard. It just took a little more work to get that where it needed to be. But yeah, for the most part, it's just really fun. It is a lot of work to make the show and to write it. We rewrite a ton, but we know it's all to the ultimate end.
Yeah, and like you've done a lot of other work in terms of writing and being a correspondent on the nightly show, as well as hosting the Rundown. Like, how is doing a sketch show like? How did that appeal to different comedic sensibilities?
Well, sketch is actually my home. I'm a sketch and improvisation comedian by trade, so this is my 7th sketch show. So really late night was a departure for me in a lot of ways. But so sketch was just like coming home for me. I went through Second City in Chicago and had resident teams there and an Improv Olympic. And so, you know, it's definitely a different muscle. We did some sketches on the nightly show and I did similar things, sketches on my late night show. We usually have a sketch about once a month, a big location shoot, but it was hard because I was the only person on my late night show. I didn't have other correspondents to do kind of the heavy lifting. So, it was just a return home. It's not harder or easier for me. It's just kind of muscles that I had built up in both areas. So I was happy to return to home base. Yeah.
Do you do much improv on Black Lady Sketch Show?
Yeah, especially me. I am terrible at memorizing lines. I mean, I get it done. Luckily, I'm a writer as well on the show that I created and run. So, I get a lot of practice memorizing while we're in the room. The scripts change a lot. So I always have a general idea of what the words are. And I do, for HBO, we need to get it as scripted. But once I do that, I'm off to the races. I mean, I love improvising. And a lot of my characters, Chris, who I mentioned before, and the HERCHEP, Dr. Hadassah Alinka Ali Youngman, pre-PhD, she also, I get to improvise with her a lot, which is really, really fun. And I think the best improv comes from the characters you know the best. So that's also the advantage of obviously being in on the writing process from day one. So but our other cast members improvise as well. We shoot the show really quickly, so there's not a ton of time for that, but we try to always make sure we got all the coverage in the scripted versions of the sketches, and then we go crazy.
Is there a sketch on the show that, like, when you rewatch it, that like you just think's super funny and you just sort of keep coming back to and makes you laugh each time?
Yes, there's a sketch called Courtroom Kiki, which the world knows as Black Lady Courtroom. It's just pure joy. And in times like this, where the world is in such unrest and, we're trapped in our homes, I think that sketch in particular is just pure joy and comedy. And so it makes me laugh every time.
Was there one?
Which really, for those who haven't seen it, it's just literally a sketch where Black women lawyers come into a courtroom and they realize that the judge, the bailiff, the stenographer, and the defendant are all Black women, and they cannot focus on the case because they're so excited.
It's look how far, like, oh, when would this ever happen? And it's a really good one. Was there one that was a complete joy to film and to shoot?
All of them. I mean, we're just on the playground, but one that was so hard to get through because we kept laughing so hard was Gang Orientation, which is a sketch that takes corporate HR culture and new employee orientation and merges it with an all-female gang. And so it's kind of like, what would happen if you took the terminology from corporate America and, merge that with gang culture? And it's so funny. And Gabrielle Dennis is just unbelievable in that sketch as the leader of the gang. And I played this character who's supposed to be very stoic, doesn't talk a lot, has a unibrow. And it was just so hard to keep a straight face. Issa Rae was guest starring in that sketch as well. And me and Quinta and Issa, we had such a hard time not laughing. It was so hard to get through. And those days are just the best, those are just the best days when you're making something really funny, but you're also having fun while you're doing it.
Yeah. Do you think you've got season 2? It's been renewed for a second season. Congratulations! Is there something you're really hoping to do in season 2, or something that you've done sketch comedy before? Is there something on your bucket list?
Just more celebrity guests. I think we haven't even tapped the list of people that we'd love to see on the show. And then I think we'll continue our interstitial storyline, so people will find out who's at the door. Our cliffhanger at the end of the season suggested that maybe the women aren't alone, or are they? Or is the doorbell just malfunctioning? I don't know. So I'm looking forward to continuing that storyline. The season has already been written. We finished writing months ago, but then COVID shut us down. So, people keep saying to us, oh, you're going to have lots of material after we get out of quarantine. And I'm like, well, the show already dealt with us in quarantine, so we were ahead of the curve on that. But I don't want to take more months to rewrite. All the material's so good. I mean, we'll have to adapt some of it, certainly, just to be appropriate. But the show is not topical in that way, like 24-hour news cycle. So I certainly would never make fun of protesting or any of the radical, amazing changes that are happening and that I hope continue to happen in society. That's not funny. That's beautiful. And I don't want to ever poke fun at those people who are forcing change in the country. And I definitely don't think anyone's going to care about quarantine once we're out of it. I think they're going to look back and try to forget it. So, I feel like we're already dealing with it in our storyline, and B, our sketches, if you watch them today or a year ago, are still relevant and funny and interesting. So I think we'll kind of continue that same sort of vibe in season 2.
Well, and obviously at the moment, as you mentioned, we are in quite turbulent times. There's a lot going on in the world, a lot going on in terms of race relations as well. What role do you see comedy as serving in these times, particularly in giving new perspective to people?
Yeah, I think the great thing about our show is not only were we ahead of the times in our quarantine storyline, we were also ahead of it in our existence. I think it's a very political act to have an all-Black woman sketch show directed by a Black woman, edited, written, starring Black women, created by a Black woman. We've set all sorts of records with this show that had never been done before in American television history. So I think we're really proud of that. And I think that will help people to see that we can do any sort of Monty Python and SNL ish sort of comedy that anybody who's not Black can do. And I think that, and on top of that, we have our own style. And I think this show is really indicative of what I've been working towards my whole career, in changing people's perspective about what Black women can do. And that we can be silly and play a million different characters and be malleable and chameleons in this world just as much as anyone else. You really don't get to see that. So I'm just excited about that, and I hope people really discover our show in a new way now that they're waking up to content by Black creators. And I mean, for us, we had great ratings. We on Friday night at 11 on HBO, we're doing record-breaking numbers for the network. So obviously people were watching anyway, and will continue to watch. And for us, critical acclaim, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, all that is amazing, and it only helps us continue to spread this message that women in comedy can be specifically cast but universally funny. And so I think that's my big message to people is don't let the title scare you if you're not a Black lady. The show is for everyone to watch and to enjoy and to really get to expand your horizons on what you think we're capable of. And I hope it challenges other people to write for us differently, to be like, wow, they can play all of those different characters. I should think differently, in terms of the way people create and material that we're putting out there.
And I guess the success of the show in particular will be very helpful as more people and minorities want to do shows that sort of, so that's pretty cool.
I hope so. I was just going to say, we named the show not the Black Lady Sketch Show. We named it a Black Lady Sketch Show. Yeah. So that, because originally it was the Black Lady Sketch Show, and I changed it because I said, well, it should just be one of many, and I think that with Sherman Showcase and Astronomy Club, we saw people, shows get made, you know, by Black creators. And I think that's really exciting. And I think, look, there's going to be, sketch is a very volatile industry. It's hard for shows to stick around. And I think that our show has a lot of potential to have a ton of staying power, and it just matters if people watch.
Yeah, you're envisioning a world where there is, it is one of many Black lady sketch shows.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Or, you know,
That's so
or
cool.
like an Asian lady sketch show,
Yeah.
Latinx lady sketch show, whatever, Latina lady sketch show, whatever it has to, you know, I just think there could be a whole franchise. And those are points of view I want to see. You know, that's the kind of stuff I want to see in the world. So why not?
You talked about guest stars and wanting more guest stars. Do you have a dream guest star to come on the show?
Blue Ivy, Beyonce's daughter.
No, that's great.
I'll take Beyonce too. But yeah, Michelle Obama. But then also all the Black lady comedians we weren't able to get scheduling wise for the first season. So like I'm thinking about Tracy Ellis Ross and Tiffany Haddish and Regina King and Regina Hall. Well, Regina King's not a comedian, but she wants to do the show. And you know, all these amazing, amazing Black women that I know or I've met through the industry or we've reached out to, and Black men as well. I mean, there's lots and lots of folks on our list. So I think the possibilities are really endless.
Oh, that's so cool. Final question, Robin. What do you find funny? What's the funniest like thing for you? What when you boil down comedy, what makes you laugh the most?
I'm not that nuanced in what I find funny. Like if somebody trips and falls as a, you know, like a pratfall or something, I will laugh. Like if it's a really good fart joke, I will laugh. Like, but I also appreciate really layered, nuanced comedy as well. And I think what we do on our show is try to build sketches with beginning, middles, and ends and throw in a twist just so that we never end where we begin. And I really appreciate that. And I appreciate Easter eggs. Our show is chock full of them, little references from other sketches. I've been telling people to watch the season backwards. It only takes like 2.5 hours to watch the whole season, less than 3 hours to watch the whole season. So I tell them watch episode 6 to 1 and notice the Easter eggs that you'll find from other sketches that you've seen before. Or if you've never watched it, watch it that way. It doesn't matter. You're going to get it. The interstitials are told out of order anyway. So it might be an interesting watch for people who have seen it.
Ah, that's really cool. Well,
Yeah.
Robin, thank you so much for talking to us today. All the best of luck with the Black Lady Sketch Show at the upcoming Emmy Awards this year.
Yeah.
And all the best of luck for season 2 when you can get everyone together for that. And people watching this interview can go to goldderby.com to make your own Emmy predictions and watch other celebrity interviews with top awards contenders. Thanks so much, Robin.
Thanks, Matt.